Hi everybody, my name is Ella Halfacree and I am the Student Recruitment Officer or Admissions Manager, if you like, for this programme here, the MSc in Financial Risk Management at Trinity Business School. I'm very, very pleased today to be joined by a panel made up of previous grads of the programme. Victoria Lawler is the dedicated careers consultant for the programme, and she's going to be, I suppose, chairing the session today, asking a few questions, and we'll hopefully get the conversation going. So, Victoria, I'll hand over to you, and then I might just pop in at the end and ask my own question if we have time. So, thanks very much, Victoria.
Thanks, Ella, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So I want to welcome you all to the webinar. We're going to be online for around 45 minutes or so. And I know we have people who will be watching this recording back literally at different times of the day or night and from different locations all over the world. So I just want to say that you are very welcome and to thank you for considering the Masters in Financial Risk Management here at Trinity College Dublin. So as Ella said, my name is Victoria. I'm one of the postgraduate career consultants here in Trinity Business School, and I work in the career and community team. And this is one of the programs that I look after from the careers side. So this is for the Masters in Financial Risk Management. We're really fortunate today to be joined by 4 of our alumni. So these are students that studied this master's program and have since graduated and found employment. And they're going to talk to you a little bit about their student journey so you can understand what they thought about studying the program, what they've done afterwards, and get some real insights from real people that have actually completed the master's as well. And so our alumni have volunteered their time today, and so we're really grateful to get their insights. And I'd just like to start off maybe doing some quick introductions to the team that will be speaking to you today. And we'll move through some more specific questions as we progress as well. So I might start with our first panelist, Ken. Perhaps you could just do a very quick introduction, just tell people here maybe a little bit about yourself, what you did for your undergrad, and what led you to choose the Masters in Financial Risk Management.
Yeah, thanks, Victoria. So as you said, my name is Ken. So I'm from Cork, and then went to UCC in Cork as well. I did a BSc in finance. After that, I did the Masters in Trinity, and I'm currently working in PwC in the Risk Assurance Department. I suppose the reason why I picked the FRM was because in my undergraduate finance, I got real flavor for what like the financing world was about, and had a keen interest in the risk side of things. And I suppose that's what led me into the FRM Masters.
Right, thank you. We might move to our next panelist now. So Manan, I'll let you introduce yourself and just explain the same if you can.
Hello, everybody. My name is Manan, and I'm originally from New Delhi, India. And for my undergrad, I did like a bachelor's in business administration where I specialized in finance. And then I went on to do my master's in financial risk management from Trinity. And the reason I chose risk was that, after my bachelor's, I thought, that I'm the biggest investor on Wall Street and, I can get all my money invested. And then as soon as I started putting in money, I got to realize the concept of risk because I started losing money. So that is when I decided that, I need to go more deeply into the area and do a master's and then hopefully not lose money on my investments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for the insight there. Miriam, I might come to you next.
Hi, I'm Miriam. I'm from Germany. I did my undergrad in international business with a focus in finance and emerging markets in Maastricht University, so in the Netherlands. And I kind of realized I wanted to study risk due to my bachelor thesis, actually, because I was doing it at a company and they encouraged me to do it about credit risk. And then I was very much into it and I thought, why not study financial risk management?
Great, thank you. And we'll move on to our final panelist. So Alexandru, are you there?
Hi everyone. So my name is Alex, and I'm originally from Moldova. I came to Ireland when I was 16, and I did my Leaving Cert in Ireland. Then, from kind of at an early age, I was passionate about economics, and I did my undergrad in economics at Trinity. And after going through a lot of theoretical aspects, I realized that my passion is not really into economics and more the kind of applied economics concepts into finance and risk. So that's why I decided to go into the financial risk management. Right now, I'm working at the central bank in the financial risk division, and definitely the masters play the big role in securing the job. And after a couple of like conversations with the staff here, it certainly secures the promotions forward. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. So it's great for you to get an introduction to our alumni here today. So what I'm going to do now is just maybe ask a couple of questions just to get a bit more of an understanding about the masters as well that you did. So I might come back to you, Ken, first. Maybe can you cast your mind back to when you did the masters and tell me a little bit about what was your favorite module and why was that?
Yeah, of course. So I did the masters about 3 years ago now. It was actually during COVID, so it was different times. But I suppose the one thing that drew me to the masters was Trinity itself in the college. From being from Ireland, I suppose I always looked at Trinity fondly. But delving deeper into the masters, I suppose my favorite module was probably operational risk. Um, so I was lucky enough as part of my undergraduate to do placement. So it's actually I did placement where I'm currently working in the risk department in PwC. Um, and it was there where we were kind of looking at operational risk. So then doing the module in Trinity gave me a much deeper understanding, and I had that kind of knowledge from the placement, and I was looking at things a small bit differently. But no, yeah, I think that for me was definitely my favorite module. Um, it was great just to see how operational risk works in the real world.
Okay, great. And thanks for that insight. Manan, I might come to you. What was your favorite module and why?
Yeah, so like, it's very difficult to choose one of those because there were so many. But if I talk like academically, I'd say that the best and the one with the most insights was mathematics of contingent claims, because it was very different and had, like R modeling with it as well. So like it's very, it makes you industry ready sort of with the theoretical knowledge as well. But if I talk from like a very fun point of view, right, I think the most fun I had was in the trading psychology module, in which they came in and got like investment banking simulations and everything. And the whole class was engaged, and you talk to each other and, try to sell stocks like an investment banker to each other. So that was really fun as well.
Great. That sounds really interesting. Miriam, I'm not sure if you have the same thoughts about the modules, or is there a different favorite module for you?
Just adding to the trading psychology, that one that was very engaging. Also quite stressful because you were like trading real time in class with your fellow classmates, but it was like a really good experience in my opinion. However, my favorite module was measurement and modeling of market risk. We had this in our second semester when I was doing the masters. And what was really great about it is that we had a seasoned risk professional teaching it, and he made it very applied to real life and really got us so much closer to how we would use it in our jobs. So, of course, combining that academic component, but especially also bringing it very close to how it is applied in the end, which I thought was great. And that's something that was also very apparent to me throughout the masters, that all of the things were really targeted towards making us then ready for a job or ready to enter that field.
Great, thank you. And Alex, what about you? What would you say was your favorite module and why?
Yeah, so kind of combining the same thoughts of from Manan and Miriam, I don't think I had like a favorite module, since in risk you have to kind of have a robust understanding of all aspects. But the favorite thing about the modules was the aspect of having practitioners coming from real life world and companies around Trinity, and that was a nice and important networking opportunity at the same time. So that was my favorite thing about the masters. Yeah.
Great. Okay. And that leads me nicely in. So thank you so much for that, Alex. I'm interested, I suppose, to talk a little bit about that networking piece and maybe the different supports that are here as well. So from the Trinity careers and community side, we have obviously career consultations. So new students and existing and students that have graduated can still use the career service for appointments. And we have workshops and events run as well. So maybe, Ken, I'll ask you, if you cast your mind back when you were here, do you remember engaging with the careers team? Did you do any appointments or did you attend workshops that have helped you maybe with your employment prospects after graduating?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember working closely with Ella a couple of times, and the careers department. I remember sending my CV in, for example, getting feedback on that. We'd have numerous workshops when I was looking for jobs. Just, I suppose, what to look out for, or if we were doing if I had an interview. I remember doing practice interviews even, which I found great. I found like it's quite daunting sitting down in front of someone, especially when it's on Zoom. And because I suppose when I did it, it was during COVID, that it wasn't really the norm. But like having that support and having those practices were brilliant.
Okay, thanks. Manan, I know you've graduated more recently. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience as well.
Yes, definitely. So, like, just before admission into Trinity, because it was COVID, so my college results got delayed. So if I talk about like an admin perspective, Ella was very kind enough to, give me admission on like provisional results. And after that, if I talk about like the careers team, of course, like I had you as my counselor, and I kept bothering you throughout the year with my questions and my CV again and again and again. And even like just like I changed my job last month and I was still talking to you and I gave you a mock interview. So I like that was a really, really great thing that you can, use the careers resources and like talk to the team and, in fact, like talk to anybody. I remember like once you were not available, so I had a word with Patrick, and like it's very, very, insightful to talk to somebody, give a mock interview, and before your actual interview, and it's really, really helpful as well. And the best part is that you get to use the resources and talk to the team throughout your career, and it's not just limited to your 1 year of masters.
Great, thank you. Miriam, the same question to you, if you could talk a little bit about your experience as well.
So what I really enjoyed, what I felt was very special was that contrary to when you usually talk to careers counselors, and I feel like they have a very kind of prepared response already, like something that feels very general. You don't really feel like people actually listen to you and you actually understood of what path you want to follow. When I had meetings with you, I think that was very great. Like it really seemed like you understood where I was coming from, and then based on that you could find like opportunities or give suggestions of where I could go. So I think that was just a very good experience for me as well. And as Manan was saying, it's great that we can also use these or your services or the counseling services in the future when we think about like changing jobs or looking at new opportunities or something like that. So yeah, really enjoying it.
Thank you. And Alex, maybe if you could cast your mind back to maybe the induction, any of the careers workshops you might have attended, or any support that you got whilst you were a student here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so generally, like everyone knows, looking for a job aspect is like never a pleasant activity. However, for me, I saw that understanding what I like and what I want was kind of the best kickstart that I was able to offer myself. And then because the central bank application is very early into the year, I did not have to kind of use the services of the career team. But I remember how the career consultant, like Victoria, was literally emailing us every day from the first week and motivating us to being open to having meetings and inviting to meetings. And I've never seen such a strong desire from an academic institution to see you succeed, basically. And those career workshops are certainly making you to think early and be ahead of the game. And timing is very important in the job market in Ireland, I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So that's interesting to kind of get a perspective as well on looking for work here. So I might do a little bit of exploration, I suppose, in terms of that career path as well. So Ken, we might start with you. Maybe you could just talk to us a little bit about maybe what you did work-wise just before the program, and then what you ended up doing after the program, after graduation as well, and what your current role is.
Yeah, of course. So I suppose before the program, back in Cork, and then I would have like in my finance there was various societies, like finance societies that I had a keen interest in. Um, so that's where I suppose I got the love for finance and risk management. And my current role then is I'm working in internal audit. So in the team internal audit, governance, risk and compliance. Um, so I'd be looking at regulatory risks, operational risks, governance risks within companies. And the masters really like stood to me. I get great experience and exposure to looking at companies and making recommendations where maybe they can improve and mitigate risks, um, which like following on from the masters was a great way of using my masters. So that's where I'm currently am.
Okay. I think you're a little modest actually, because haven't you just finished your FAE exams, your final admittance exams?
Yeah, yeah. So I loved exams so much after my undergrad and masters that I decided to do my accounting exams. So just finished them in August. So um, I'm now a chartered accountant as well. Um, but yeah, so that was something I decided to do. And I'm glad I did it. It was a tough 3 years, but definitely glad that I did that.
Okay. And talk to me a bit about that balance in terms of maybe studying for those accounting exams and working as well. How did you find that?
See, we get good support in PwC. We get good study leave. So I think for like we'll say my FAE exams this year, we had 3 months study leave. But saying that it still was still quite difficult throughout the year to work and study. Um, but one thing I did actually notice was that some of the accounting exams, some of the modules and lessons had had similarities to what I would have done in the masters, which I found a huge help. So I wasn't going in like completely blindsided. I kind of had a familiarity of some of the material already, which really stood to me. But working and studies is tough. But I think you just need to be disciplined, and it all worked out in the end. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
No, that's good. And I've definitely heard, because the Masters obviously is a 1 year program, it is quite intensive as well, I think, for that academic year. So
Yeah.
Did it really help you, I suppose, prepare a little bit for those accountancy exams, having such the rigorous study during your masters?
Yeah, absolutely. I think masters like sets you up quite well to take these exams. I think just the way the master's exams are even structured have quite similar to the chartered accountants exams as well. So I definitely felt prepared. I felt it was a nice stepping stone to go from the master's into the chartered accountants exams, because there's such a difference between my undergraduate exams and then the accounting exams, if that makes sense. So the masters was definitely a nice stepping stone to kind of ease yourself into. Um,
Right. Okay. Thank you. And I know, Manan, you took a different path after graduating. So you specialized in risk. Can you talk to us a little bit, Manan, about what you did and your current career?
Yeah, so I started off on the grad program for a bank called PTSB, and then a year later, I was like fortunate to be offered a job at Bank of Ireland as a senior analyst in the ICAP analytics team. So it's basically, more of related to credit risk and getting to know like how much capital does the bank need to keep. I'm sure Alexandra knows more about this as well, working for the central bank. And yeah, and now I am also doing my FRM exams, and yeah, and I also got like a scholarship for the FRM exams from Trinity itself, so that was good because it's like after studying the FRM from Trinity, which is also like recognized by GARP, and getting a scholarship, it's more like you just have to give another exam to get another qualification, and because you've already studied for it. And I would like to say like what you do in Trinity's masters is far far more extensive than I think what is there in the FRM curriculum as well. If you compare it to the like industry readiness and how to apply those things actually in the market rather than just answering questions, so that's good.
Right. Okay. And how did you find applying for a graduate role in Ireland, having done the masters? What talk me through that process of applying for work as a graduate?
Yeah, so like as soon as I joined Trinity and we had those starting initial webinars with the careers team as well, so they were, I don't know if anybody else on the panel requires a visa for staying in Ireland, but I do. So we had a couple of webinars on the visa as well, so that was really helpful. And yeah, the thing is that uh, I applied to a lot of grad roles, but I only applied to those which I wanted to work. I just did not want any job. So it was very easy to find a job in risk, after getting, graduated from Trinity. So it was very nice as well. I did get rejected a couple of places because of my visa, but then again, I went back to the team and had a consultation with them, and I was fine after that.
Right. And I think, that visa you mentioned, so that's possibly the 1G visa, the postgraduate stay back visa. It does really offer opportunities for international students to remain in Ireland for up to 2 years after graduating. So it can be a great platform to finding graduate roles here in Ireland as well. And maybe Miriam, I might move to you. So I think you've secured a graduate role as well with one of the banks here. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about that?
Hey, yeah, sure. So I graduated this year, which means like you finish around end of July with your dissertation. And then I started with AIB as a risk grad in September. I've been with them since then. I'm on the financial risk team there. And more specifically, what I do is I validate models. So it's very quant-based what I do. So all of the math courses and also the modeling course I was talking about earlier, they were very helpful for me personally right now in my role. Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's great. And yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And Alex, maybe if you could tell me a little bit about your role then as a recent graduate as well.
Yeah. So, as Manan was mentioning earlier about the ICAP, generally the banks, well, mandatorily the banks in Ireland will have to submit their reports by kind of the end of the year and quarterly. So for Manan and Miriam, the kind of the busiest times, and for Ken probably as well, the busiest times are kind of will lead more to the end of the year, whereas for us is after the submission. And generally, it's what Manan said would be kind of analyzing risks such as the credit, the market, the operational one, and liquidity, and see how they impact on the level of capital that the banks must hold. And certainly, if there is some inadequacies, then we'll be recommending corrective measures for the level of capital. And another interesting aspect that I like it here is that because Ireland is part of the European Union and the central bank being part of the euro system, you're able to contribute to formulate and implement policies that align like within the single European market. So I found that it extremely interesting and beneficial to be able to take part in a team that helps to an overall goal for the whole European Union. Yeah.
Thank you. I know, Miriam, you mentioned a little bit about the dissertation. So I'm sure for some people, even thinking about doing a master's program, that is a big consideration as well. And I know that it can be quite challenging for people who maybe haven't done a dissertation before. Ken, I might touch on your experience first in terms of that, if you want to maybe talk a little bit about the academic side of the course, just in terms of perhaps the dissertation or anything that you might have found a little bit more challenging initially.
Yeah, I suppose a dissertation was something that I had never done before. I suppose like a lot of people. But again, saying that there was like huge support going into it, like we didn't go into any dissertation blindly. Throughout the year, we had to submit various like dissertation summaries. So we always kind of were thinking throughout the year, and we had numerous like meetings with our coach, um, which is great. And even if we'll say if I veered off, decided to study or research something that was completely irrelevant, that you'd quickly be put back online. But I actually really liked the dissertation. I don't know, I find I liked working and researching on my own. And it was a great way to, like, I suppose actually it goes back to the point that it was quite similar to the study leave that I was doing on the accounting exams, that you're kind of left to your own devices. Um, in Not so much left to your own devices, but you're kind of, you go off and research and then you come back and you have discussion with your dissertation. But no, I love the dissertation. I thought it was because you get to kind of research something that you're interested in, like really interested in, and something that you'd like to learn more in.
Great, thank you. And Manan, maybe you might talk to us a little bit about that, because I know there's a lot of group work as well, isn't there, during the master's program, and the dissertation is the solo element, if you like, as well. So maybe to talk a little bit about your experience as well of this academic side.
Yeah, so I think a lot of assignments had, group work, and some of them had solo work as well. And I had some professors who would like, make your own teams and then they would shuffle you across. So that's how you get to know your cohort even better, I think. And it's like, you just want to, like when you are in a group work and you get up and personal with everybody and you get to, know them, where they come from, their background, their experiences. And yeah, but I think when it comes to the dissertation, that is the part where I would have learned the most academically, because although I had done a dissertation before, but it was still very different than to the one I did in India, and the processes were different. But again, like Ken said, the professors and everybody were always there to, support you, to answer your questions, always available. And you could just schedule a meeting with them and before a class, after a class, and or even like if not a meeting, just walk up to them between like a break or something and just talk to them. It was, although they were professors, it was never a dynamic which was very, very formal. You could always just walk up to them and talk. So I really like that as well.
Great. And I think that's really important to say. I know sometimes people might be looking at this master's program and saying, it's at Trinity, it seems a little daunting. My experience certainly of working here over the last number of years is that everybody actually is very approachable, and genuinely people want you to do well. So whether they're professional staff or academic staff, they really are invested, I suppose, in people coming through the program successfully as well. So it's great to hear that they were approachable, that the people that you spoke about there as well. Miriam, maybe you might share a little bit about your experience, if you can, as well on the academic side, perhaps in terms of the dissertation or anything that you found particularly challenging. You okay there, Miriam?
I think your sound might have cut out, Miriam.
We can always go to Alex if not, and we'll let Miriam get her sound back online. So Alex, I might go to you next if that's okay. Then maybe you could just share a little bit about your experience of the dissertation and maybe your studies here.
Yeah, so I can compare it with my undergrad, where the biggest factor was the time of deadline of submission. So for the undergrad, it was March, so during your actual course studies, whereas for the masters, it was towards the end of July. And since the courses were going to end closer to the end of April, you have a very nice timeline to be able to focus. And one important aspect was as you guys mentioned about the approachability of your supervisor. And in my case as well, there was the option: do you want it online? Do you want to be in person? So I think this is extremely important when this is certainly not the easiest part of the masters, and you need that extra help to know that there is at the back, and for you to be reliant on it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Miriam, we'll see, is your connectivity any better? I'm not sure. Can you come in here? Are you okay?
Can you hear me now?
Perfectly, yeah. Crystal clear.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had to relocate. I'm at work, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, what I also really enjoyed, just adding on to what everyone else has already said, because I don't want to repeat what they've said. I think what also makes it a great experience is that you are really talking to so many people from different cultures in your class, and everyone kind of brings their opinion, their perspective. And if you don't maybe understand something, you can also ask your peers. So this peer learning, I think, is also was a good and key aspect for me as well. So let's say you struggle with your dissertation. Of course, it's good. You can approach your supervisor, and you can approach maybe lecturers if you have specific topical questions, but also approach your peers and talk to fellow classmates that are in the same boat as you, essentially. And so I really thought that was also giving me so much, and those really adding on top of that, on top of the academic support we get from the lecturers, was the fellow people that study with you, the fellow people that also go through the same journey, and that you essentially graduate with at the end.
Great, thanks for that. And now I suppose as we get towards the end of the webinar, I'm just interested to maybe think a little bit about any surprises maybe that you had coming into the master's program, or anything that you really saw as a highlight, I suppose, of actually studying at Trinity as well. So Ken, I might come to you on that question. So maybe highlight of studying at Trinity, or any surprises that you really didn't realise until you'd started.
Yeah, I think it's been touched on a couple of times, but I think just meeting your fellow classmates and spending the year with them and um, becoming friends was probably the highlight of my year. Like I'm 3 years finished the masters now and still in touch with many of my classmates. And even if you think in a professional manner, like the network that the masters has given me, like my classmates are working in a wide variety of roles across the world, and having that network was definitely the highlight of my time in Trinity.
Great, thank you. And I think that's something that's actually overlooked initially when people start that networking side. And it's definitely true. I've seen from the student side as well, because it is an intensive course of study, you do form very close bonds with your classmates. So it's great to see that you're still in touch after graduating as well. And Manan, I'll ask you the same question. So any highlights that you had or surprises?
Yeah. So like before joining, we were told that there would be industry leaders taking modules and everything, but I thought there would be, people from like a junior analyst or somebody coming in and giving experience, and not like actually CEOs and like heads of companies giving and coming in and giving lectures. So that was very surprising, but a very nice element, because you get to know their perspective, and you get to know like what 30 years being in the same industry you want to be looks like as well. Also, like if anybody is planning to join the masters or has already joined, one advice would be to enjoy it as well, and not just think about how will I study, how will I do my assignments, dissertation, job, and everything. I know it's a lot, but like now when I look back, I think that was the most fun I had. So definitely do enjoy it as
Oh, and that's such an overlooked part actually in terms of enjoying it, because the year does go very quickly. So I do think that's a really important thing to stress as well. Like it is an experience studying in Dublin and an experience of being a Trinity student. There are lots of clubs and societies you can join, and you can really make it your own, I suppose, when you're here as well. So the academic side is obviously important, but there are lots of other things to kind of get involved in as well. I thought it was interesting you mentioned a bit about kind of that real world experience. So I know the classes do company visits as well. So I was actually out with the FRM class this week. We went to visit the Meta offices here in Dublin. So I do think that's a really important aspect of the course as well. So thanks for bringing that up. Miriam, I might come to you next. Anything in terms of maybe your highlights or surprises of the course?
I'm agreeing with Manan. Like what he said is, it was very great. Also compared to, let's say, other universities, that you had really these risk professionals. You can really tell they don't just teach; they have lived through this. So, for example, we had Catherine Keane, who was doing credit risk and operational risk for us, at least in my year. And she was really always talking about specific anecdotes whenever she would teach topics. So they were also making more memorable to yourself, and it was easier to follow and really nice to listen to. So I think that experience that is really also distributed to us in that way, that was very key. And of course, on the other hand, networking, what Ken already said is, I agree as well, that's very overlooked. I mean, in the end, you'll have people going everywhere after Trinity. Some will stay in Ireland, some will go somewhere else in Europe, or maybe even back to their home countries, or India, China. And that really provides you with a network where you can go to so many places and have people in every single place, which is great. And it's such an enriching experience, and you really get to learn more about each other that way as well. So I think overall, not just saying the students, also the staff, but the people really make Trinity. And I think that was really surprising to me by how much that really affects the journey in the end.
Great, thank you. I feel bad now, Alex, leaving you to the end, because that's going to be hard to beat Miriam with hers. So any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so again, it was mentioned, yeah, by everyone. I agree with everyone, the aspect of having and being able to make friends from everywhere around the world, and then some modules being combined with the finance masters, so that even emphasizes more this aspect. But I guess the point of having access to Bloomberg and 24-hour libraries should not be underestimated. Um, and this was like a big surprise for me, having Bloomberg, literally from access to Bloomberg from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Friday, and it was a quiet area there. You were able to study and to do your research there. And another highlight that was and is helpful for our future, for our career, was the scholarship for the FRM exam, and to be able to apply for that and be considered. So that definitely was the biggest highlight for me. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's great to hear the experience from our previous students who are now our alumni from the Masters in Financial Risk Management. Thank you so much, guys, for your time today. I'm going to hand back to Ella, because she might have one or two other questions just as we get towards the end of the webinar. So Ella, I'll pass it back to yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Victoria, for chairing the questions there. And thank you guys for your really detailed insights. You've been very generous with sharing about your experience. One that's going to kind of put you on the spot, I suppose Victoria kind of touched on it before, there is a lot of group work. So obviously you get to work and collaborate with people, I guess, from all different backgrounds, from all different sort of nationalities, and some people have worked and some people are fresh grads. This is going to be really casting your mind back for you, Ken. But if anybody wants to, I'm not going to put you all individual on the spot, but if anybody wants to talk about something that maybe they remember learning about themselves, something kind of a new thing that they maybe didn't already know, or maybe a specific thing that they learned from a classmate during these kind of extensive discussions you would have had in group work. If anybody wants to kind of put an idea forward or contribute.
Yeah, I could start off. I think the main thing I learned about was with all the group work was what kind of person I was in a group, if that makes sense. So obviously you have like your leaders, your organizers, and I think I kind of took the role sometimes as the organizer, which surprised me and is something that I learned. I think it was something that I kind of learned that I was good at. And I kind of find that even today when I'm working is that I kind of like to have, everything organized, and like we'll say if we're having a meeting, everything prepared, and make sure like we have it done on time. So I think that was kind of what I learned, was just the types of people that are in a group and what person I am.
Very good. And also that you just love exams.
Exactly, yeah. Unfortunately.
I don't know if anybody else has anything to contribute, or I do have another question. If anybody else.
Maybe I've a thing to mention. I thought also in a group work, you really realize how different communication styles work. Like I thought that was something very interesting, because you always assume someone's going to communicate like you communicate, but that's actually not the case. So it's really important to follow up and make sure everyone's really on the same page, and not in the end realize, oh, I actually meant this in a different way or something. So I think learning about different communication styles is really key, that you can definitely apply to different areas of your life later, and that you will always need.
Yeah, I think like at the time, I think the group work students can find it quite challenging and difficult to kind of coordinate everybody's time. And as you say, you kind of learn, it's almost like a kind of secret way of of teaching you guys, like a stealthy way of teaching things like, as you say, communication and delegation and collaboration. And then obviously it's challenging at the time, but then when people graduate, they kind of go, oh, actually, that is going to really stand to me when I go into the workplace. So maybe, unless Manan and Alex have anything additional to contribute, I might just end on this one, because I know everybody has to go back to work and you've been very, very generous with your time so far. If sort of thinking, having in mind who's going to be watching this, so it's going to be prospective applicants, the people that are thinking about taking that journey that you guys have already completed over the last few years. If somebody's at that kind of decision, that crunch point of, could this be right for me? Is this a right step in my journey? Could, do I want to undertake this program? What do you think you would say to them, to get, maybe offer that bit of encouragement, or really communicate, if you had one opportunity, 30 seconds to really communicate with somebody why you got so much from this program? Maybe we'll carry on with the pattern. Ken, we'll start with you. If there was something you could say to somebody kind of in that position.
Yeah, I suppose 30 seconds. I think it was definitely the best choice that I made. I think it set me up for my career. I think it gave me skills that are so applicable to the workforce. I think that, like, the network that I gained, the knowledge that I gained, is invaluable. I thoroughly enjoyed the year, and I would always tell anyone who was thinking about to do the masters just to do it. Simple as that.
There we go, especially if you love exams. Manan.
Yeah, so I would start by saying that the Trinity Business School, the Trinity campus, the resources, the library, everything is so underrated everywhere. But when you actually come here, it's amazing. Everything is just, so up to the mark, to the best of the universities in the world, which Trinity is as well. So, and also, like, the Irish people are great. Ireland is only European country which speaks English. So definitely, if you can speak English, it's a great point as well. So I think that I had a lot of doubts as well myself before coming, but now when I look back, I think it was just me overthinking and not, because it is a very big step to move to another country, but it was an amazing journey. And if I had to do it all over again, I would.
Excellent. Thank you. Miriam, might bring you in.
I would say that while it is a challenge, it's only if you take on challenges that you grow. So that's why I would recommend everyone to do it as well, because I think there's so much you can learn. There's so much you can grow with by moving abroad, by meeting new people, by starting this master's in financial risk management. Because of course it is a rigorous program, but I think it's a very interesting program, and you'll be even more proud once you've accomplished it, because you've faced a challenge and you've taken that leap of faith. So yeah.
God, I feel amazing now. I'm like, maybe I should do the program. I'm not that great with numbers, so I might leave it to you guys. Thank you very much, Miriam. Alex, we'll end with you.
So agreeing with everyone, and on top of that, I just want to say that the career in risk management is anything but risky, and the master's program is simply helping you to secure that low riskiness level within the job market. And another aspect that would probably be like a piece of advice for everyone that's considering to apply is to apply early, and to enjoy the fact and be proud that you are able to apply and be considered at a top 100 university in the world that, as Manan said, has a historical campus full of gems and an extensive number of supports that are not just on paper, but indeed are there to be taken by students.
Wow, I mean, you guys have done my job for me. Thank you very much. I'll let you all get back to work, but honestly, it's been a really, really brilliant session. Thank you so much, Victoria, again, for offering your time. Anybody watching this, technically not supposed to get access to Victoria until you've registered, so this is a real treat, a real coup to have her today. And obviously Ken and Manan and Miriam and Alexander, thank you so much for giving us time during your busy work day. We really, really do appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences with the incoming students, and they really do find it invaluable. So just one last thing, we are obviously accepting applications at the moment for I guess September 2025 enrollment. So you can apply online. If you have any questions, you can email us at business.masters@tcd.ie. And obviously you can converse with me. You can link with me on LinkedIn. And Victoria, I don't know if you want to add anything just before we end the session.
I'd just like to reiterate my thanks to the panel as well. And just to say that for anyone watching the webinar, I suppose you're at a pivotal stage now. So just to echo what Miriam said, you learn and you grow through what you do. So accepting the challenges that are ahead of you and really investing in yourself is what's crucial to your career development. So investing in yourself through education is a great way to do this as well. And I would encourage people not to overthink it too much, as Manan said. There are always questions that you will have, but you will find that the answers are here once you start your studies. And you'll also find that you're meeting lots of like-minded people as well. So if you are considering this course, please know that you will be creating a community of friends for the future, as well as having the security of the Masters from Trinity as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time.
Brilliant. Thanks, everybody. And just to build on what Alex said, do apply early. We will have some more information sessions throughout the year. Actually, I'll grab Victoria for another half an hour so we can have a live Q&A at some point so you can ask some questions in a bit more detail. But thanks again, everybody, and have a fantastic afternoon. Thanks a lot.